apologize for a late start. This meeting room gets used by many different groups, and the Transportation Authority was in this room previously, so we were not able to get in here. In terms of the items on the agenda, if you are here on any item on the agenda, would you please fill out a speaker's form and get it into the clerk so that we'll know which agenda item you wish to speak on. And then, as you're probably aware, this meeting is being cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel of the Comcast system. And then it will be repeated on Saturday, February 7th at noon. And you can also check out of the library a VHS copy of these proceedings, usually 7 to 10 days after the meeting. And with that, would you please call the roll?
Cox.
Present.
Gora. Excuse me. We have Fletcher.
Fletcher.
I'm here for Tony Gore today.
It's good to see you again.
Welcome. Natali. Dickinson. Yee.
Here.
Waters.
Yeah.
Kurth.
Here.
Shelby.
Here.
Collin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very, very much. There are a couple of things I'd like to say at the very beginning. It's obviously it's very nice to see Orville again. Orville was here from the very beginning, I think, of the Cable Commission days. He certainly chaired this commission before on several occasions. And then we're welcoming Mr. Shelby again from Citrus Heights, representing that jurisdiction. And the reason that I am chairing the Cable Commission today is due to the untimely death of the chair of the Cable Commission, which was Sam Pinnell. And I know that all of us have each expressed our sorrow and over Sam's untimely passing, and it does leave the vice chair moving into the chair, at least for this meeting. So. With that, we will go right to the first items.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, gentlemen. We'll try and move you quickly through the agenda today. There's several things we need to do, some things it's nice to do, and I'll squeeze the nice to do ones down. Item 1 is divided into 2 parts. The first part, the overall subject is cable rates. The first part is a recommendation to you that your commission file a complaint with the FCC. This will trigger, as explained in the staff report, your cable television franchisee and licensee Comcast to file with us a Form 1240 for their enhanced tier rates. They have correctly read the regulations that because there was no complaint filed by your commission last year, the substantiation for their second tier rates was not provided to us. The previous cable company, Scripps, provided those to us automatically. So while I don't think your rates will change, I can't, as I mentioned to you in November, as I recall, I can't stand here before you and say that we've looked at the supporting documentation and confirmed that the rates are those prescribed by law. So first recommendation is that you file a complaint with the FCC. The requirements to do that are that there has to be a rate increase within the last 30 days. The rate increase started on the 1st, that you have to have at least 2 subscriber complaints. I will tell you that you have many, somewhere in the 30 to 40 range that I can document formally, 1 or 2 before you in written material. Council's advised that we don't need to have a public hearing. I just need your direction to file the complaint. That's the recommendation.
Okay. Do we have members with questions on this item?
Not. I would move that we write the letter.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Cox.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Natali.
No discussion.
Dickinson. Yee.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Kurth.
Aye.
Shelby.
Aye.
Collin.
Yes. Rich, I just got these. There were actually 2 people who wished to speak. I don't know in opposition or in favor, but we've already done the motion, but I didn't get these until afterwards. We had a Rod Perry.
Oh.
I think you've addressed my concern.
You were in favor of us passing the resolution, is that it?
Very important to me.
Okay.
I just started with Comcast about 4 months ago, and as far as dealing with the public, their service is lousy as far as I'm concerned. had a box go bad, and they told me to take a week before they could come to the house to replace it. I took it out and replaced it, and I found out they have bulletproof glass in front of their employees, so they must have a lot of upset people. But the rates are quite high. If you have ever had a satellite television receiver, you realize that I have basically same coverage. Now, I paid $105 a quarter before for subscription to my satellite, of course, and I had HBO and Cinemax and Showtime and the Disney Channel. And when you do that with the dish, you end up with 5 HBO channels and 3 Cinemax channels and so forth down the line, 2 Disney channels and so forth, instead of the single channels that you now get with Comcast. With Comcast, my rate now is $63 a month. So it doesn't take very long to want to go back and repair my old satellite reception. It just, we're kind of seem to be in a situation where we're just attached to no competition in the area, it seems like, so we don't have any choice but to accept whatever they give us.
Okay, thank you
Question.
very much. Yeah, yes.
Could you repeat for me, because that concerns me, what you said about taking a week to get the box replaced? Would you because I want to look into that.
Sure, on Monday morning, my box decided, one of the boxes in the bedroom decided to turn itself on and even change channels.
Okay.
My wife couldn't do anything with it, couldn't shut it off. She finally unplugged it.
Okay.
Then that evening when we tried to adjust the volume, it decided to just keep right on going until you press the mute button, and then you could stop it. And then it would turn off when it wanted to.
Okay, so you had a bet then.
So it was a
from
fairly
there,
good box.
you took it back, you hand carried it back, or you called them, or what?
Sure, I called them, and they said that they could replace that for me.
In a week?
But yes, then she looked on the schedule, and it would take a week before they could get somebody to my house. So I drove out and replaced it myself. I don't really relish being woke up in the middle of the night in the bedroom with a TV blaring or something.
All right, but I was concerned. Thank you.
Those kind of concerns, and sometimes when you call that place, when they changed on the 28th, they changed their subscription and so forth, and the channels all around. I didn't get part of my programming, and it took a long time to get through that morning to get.
Okay, on that question, you said you called them. How long do you think how many times the phone rang? Lots, or just a short time, or what was?
You get into the
We've been down this road before on the answering time on these telephones.
You get into the recording situation, and it just rolls around and around and around, and I just got off.
So how long till you get a live person?
What I finally did, about 10:45 in the morning, I called the administrative number. Got a live person after a while.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Ruth Blank.
Well, I do apologize to Mr. Perry, and that is a highly unusual situation because where there's a trouble call, we service it in 24 hours normally. So, that was an error, and I do apologize, and it's not typical service. And I just wanted to say on the subject, I realize you've already voted, and I don't want to take too much of your time on this, but I wanted to say on the subject of rates a couple of things because it's not a cut and dried issue, and there are several different ways of looking at rates. And I want to let you know that we do hear from customers who move into Sacramento on a regular basis that they're pleased at how reasonable our rates are, because when you look at cable rates in other areas, particularly for the number of channels we carry, our rates are very low. And I also wanted to show you a chart. I know you have a chart in your agenda packet that shows the rate history since just prior to regulation. And I wanted to show you another chart because there is another way of looking at this, and I think that it's a very fair way of looking at it. And I just want to, let's see. Is this the place where I put this?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I have some that you can look at. If I could look at these so you can see. The chart in your agenda shows the charges for Economy Basic plus Expanded Basic, the 2 regulated tiers with a converter and no remote. Since we have over 99% remote penetration, this chart shows you with remotes, and it's significant because even though a remote is not necessary to receive those services, in essence, customers' bills, this is what's more likely to be reflected by customers' bills. And also, we have 2 converter models in the system, and this shows an average of those 2 converter rates. The other thing is the chart in your packet shows the 1998 rate that including our Flex Pack, which is an optional sort of premium-like tier. And so what we're showing with this chart is more apples to apples. It's economy basic plus expanded basic. Oh, I'm sorry, I have the wrong chart here. Here we go. And you know, what you can see from this is that since 98 over 97, the rate has actually gone down by 17 cents for those services. There's one less channel in that level of service. It's gone from 64 to 63, but it's also dropped. Since February of 96, the cable rate has increased by a little over 7%, or about 3.6% per year. And then maybe most significantly, the rates for these levels of service since before regulation have gone up 6.7%. And that's since October of 92. And that's less than 1.25% per year. So clearly regulation has worked. It's set a lower level for the base rates, and then it's controlled what the increases can be on an annual basis. So, you know, rates may seem excessive to customers. Nobody likes to have increases, but if you look where they were in 92 and you look where they are in 98, and there are at least 11 more channels in that package offering, I think the value is still there. And I'm also just, one other thing I want to point out, because there's been a lot of talk about cable rates recently, and there's always a comparison to the CPI. Cable rates have gone up more than 4 times the CPI. Well, the CPI is not based on anything that has to do with providing cable service. It's based on wheat prices and gasoline prices and so forth. And largely cable rates are based on our programming. And as you well know, entertainment costs have gone up astronomically in the past few years. And just to cite a couple of examples, an average ticket price to a professional sports event has gone up 25% between 94 and 97, or about 8% a year. Off-network syndicated TV series, which a lot of our channels rely on, have gone from an average of $500,000 an episode to $700,000 an episode in the last 4 years, or about 12% increase a year. And these are the kinds of things that cable rates are based on. For Comcast, I can tell you that our programming increase is going to be about 22% in 1998. So, you know, it's just, it's sort of, when I see the CPI used as the basis for what cable's rates should go up by, it just is not a fair comparison. We recently introduced the Flex Pack, and the Flex Pack is a level of service that includes 5 channels, and we've given our customers the ability to leave their rates at the 1997 rate, essentially, if they choose to, and they have virtually the same number of channel offerings. As I mentioned, there's one less channel. And we've also given our economy basic customers, those people that only subscribe to the 27-channel package, the ability to subscribe to those 5 channels and create for themselves a nice cable package that's for about $17.50 a month with a converter. So I'm pleased to say that the Flex Pack is working so far. We've had about 8% of our economy basic customers have opted to take the Flex Pack, so they've told us that they like it. They like having those offerings. And we've had several thousand customers so far downgrade from a preferred level of service, which includes the Flex Pack, to just the economy and expanded basic service. So, you know, I think that this is working. It's a way of keeping rates at a favorable level. It's still, you know, 63 channels is still one of the largest offerings in the country. And in fact, I'd like to quickly show you this chart that compares rates in Sacramento with some rates both in the area and around the country. And you can see, with very few exceptions, thank you. With very few exceptions, the rates here in Sacramento are lower than the rest of the country, and we did not just go around choosing systems that had higher rates. It's just pretty standard that $30 or $32 is a rate. But if you look at this, there are very few systems that have more than 68 channels in their offering. So I recognize that it is your responsibility to be concerned about rates and rate increases, but I just want to put in a little perspective that there are some other ways of looking at this. So, thank you.
Question.
Okay.
Ruth?
Sure. Yes, go ahead, Jimmy.
One quick comment here, Ruth, is that I understand what you're trying to tell us here. One thing I get concerned about is the Flex Pack. Now it's a separate package, and that you're free to change that rate, on your own volition. That's my concern. We can't control you on the rate per channel. Wait a minute, that's where we can control you, but we can't control you on the other one. And so my concern is we get all these channels, and then one of these days, where you switch the channels so that you now have a flex package of some very popular channels,
Well,
that rate will go up.
The Flex Pack is actually controlled. This was the part of the social contract with the FCC, and in fact, there was a one-time opportunity to move channels from the existing package into the Flex Pack. That has already happened. We can no longer take any of the channels that are in expanded basic and put them on the Flex Pack. The only thing we would be able to do would be to add a new channel to the Flex Pack, but I think that would be limited to one.
I understand that, Ruth, but I can see us holding the rates on the price per channel, but we can't control you on the Flex Pack, and I can see that just raising even higher than what's being raised now.
Well, there are. I certainly understand your concern. There are market forces to bear, and we can't raise the Flex Pack beyond the rate that customers are willing to pay for it, and we wouldn't do that.
Well, yeah, I hear you, but like a lot of the comments I see now, there is no competition out there. It's the problem.
If I may,
Yes.
Ruth did a super job on the perspective that she's paid to present.
Yeah.
Let me present the perspective that I'm paid to present, and then you can compare. You can ask us questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's important because I really thought it was a little bit off the subject is what she was presenting. Yeah.
Point of order, I'm sorry. I have another meeting. Because of the lateness of the previous one, I will need to be leaving fairly soon. What's
I
the
do
quorum
too.
on the board here? 7? 6?
6.
6 is a quorum?
6, 7.
Okay, thanks.
So we got-
Otherwise, I was going to say, we have a motion on the floor, and they're not addressing...
The motion was voted on. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
we ought to get on
We've
with
got to
this.
get moving.
I just
I
wanted
think
to
that
say
it's
one
important for Rich to get on the record, though, what the real issue is.
Right.
Go ahead,
That-
from our
okay,
perspective, Ruth.
I'll walk through this quickly and go from there. Ruth hit one side, let me hit the other side for you. The issue, the recommendation before you is that, do you want your board to participate nationally in influencing policy on cable television regulation when there is not competition? And I've got 8 slides for you. I'll walk through fairly quickly. And I differ with Ruth on many points. Like that? We're trying something new here. That sounds for you. This is the chart showing CPI, showing cable rates at different points in history over time. I started here in '82, so we go back a ways, and we come forward. You can see where re-regulation started in '93. We had many discussions about that in this chambers. The regulations were relaxed under the heavy influence I would offer by the cable industry with the FCC, and then the Telecom Act was approved last year, which said that there would be more deregulation. So this is a comparison. I would offer that U.S. CPI is a relevant indicator, and historically, going back in '84, again in '92, and now. In my opinion, whenever cable rates have gotten to a point where they've been triple the rate of inflation, consumers start to make noise. This is a comparison of average rates, and by the way, this is from the FCC study that was released last year for data for '96 to '97. This shows average rates for cable at 28 and some change. Telephone companies, when they are, you'll see a lower. Private cable companies are even lower, and municipal cable companies where there are even lower. So this gives you a sense of comparison of where nationally the FCC is reporting cable television rates. Yes, the Comcast rates, the full basic rates as Ruth described, are pretty much right at the national average, maybe a little bit less, and that we think that's pretty good. But that's full basic. Let's talk now about the issue of what Mr. Yee was just talking about, the FlexPack. Recognize that the FlexPack has in it TBS, TNT, Discovery, TCM, Turner Classic Movies, and TV Land. Those are popular channels. Some of those are channels which were in the basic tier a month or so ago. The Comcast Basic with the FlexPack and the converter box typically used is out here, like that. I'm trying here. Okay. So you see that we do have an issue here when you put it all together on where the rates are migrating to. Okay. Looking now and going quickly here as to why I'm recommending that you participate nationally by writing letters to your congressional delegation are some statistics from the FCC report. In terms of the video market, that is satellite, wireless, or direct broadcast satellite, the MMDS services of the terrestrial satellite, and the other services that are available, the smaller satellite, cable has 87% of the market share. Their market share is a little bit smaller than it was a year ago, but the number of subs that cable has is bigger. That is, the pie has gotten bigger. I made this presentation to you about 2 years ago. More people are taking multi-channel video services. Their share has gone down. So the cable television industry has a large portion, the largest portion of the marketplace. And the 6 or 7% of the industry who are now subscribing to the small satellite dishes, about half that are subscribers to the cable industry. On the issue of programming ownership, the cable industry has said in many trades that it's programming that's driving the inflation, the upgrade in costs. You must understand that under the current regulations, increases in programming costs directly pass through to subscribers. There is no cap, there is no analysis. Increases in programming costs directly pass through. TCI, the biggest cable operator in the world, and Time Warner control 35% of the programming. Time Warner owns Turner. They control 35% of the programming. This says that as cable programming costs go up, the costs are passed through to subscribers and enhance the bottom line of the corporate parent. Maybe not the cable company, but the corporate parent. The regulatory structure allows pass-through of programming costs. Last year, of the new programming services that were provided, the cable industry owned half. This year, they're projecting that the cable industry will roll out 100 new programming services.
I'll talk to you later.
The programming costs become an interesting issue. We talk about, again, the cost passing through. The cable industry increase in programming costs was 16% last year, passed through to subscribers. The equivalent cost in programming, according to the report for the broadcast industry, was only 4%. Those basic facts, and I can back up the charts if you like, but that's basically why I believe it's reasonable and prudent for this jurisdiction to write letters to your congressional delegation, write letters to the FCC, urging that until cable television competition is real, that is, it makes a difference, or that it exists, that it's effective, that it makes a difference, and is sustained, they need to relook at the regulatory structure that's here now. I would expect that the red line on the chart will continue to go up. Here's why. 2 reasons coming forward. One is the new programming costs and the pass-through of those that I mentioned. 2, as the industry moves towards enhanced services through digital modems, and we hope to see that here. I want to remind you and put on the record now, as I've tried to years ahead of time before, the cost of the new modems, of the new services, will be passed through to subscribers as well. The new converter boxes are a pass-through, so that the incentive to strongly keep costs down is not there. In a market where 87% nationwide of the service is from one industry, in Sacramento, I would offer that it's even higher than that. Getting numbers is real tough. But Sacramento Cable will report somewhere in the range of 235 to 245,000 subscribers. We don't know hard numbers for the wireless service and what they have, but let's give them maybe 10,000 competitive subscribers in your market. The only other cable company is Cable America, and contrary to what the D reported yesterday, they have something less than 1,000 subscribers. By the way, in the FCC's report talking about competition, the 1,000 subscribers that Cable America has in Sacramento counts us in the competitive column. The FCC's analysis is clearly skewed to make it look like there's more competition than there really is. For that reason, I recommend that you direct staff to prepare letters to be executed by the chair, whomever you elect later on here in the next few minutes, and/or any of you individually, if you so desire, to go to members of the our congressional delegation, the FCC, and other interested members of Congress that you may have affinity or contact with.
Okay, thank you. And I assume that that was part of the motion.
If you like. I
Yeah,
thought you might want to take them separately. I didn't know.
Okay. It says adopt resolution authorizing filing an FCC rate complaint and
That's-
sending letters to the FCC and congressional
That's true.
delegation,
Okay.
and that was the motion.
If the board is okay, then that's the presentation for you.
Okay, thank you. You had a question?
Yeah, I have a question
Bobby?
for Ruth. Ruth? I didn't know you were going to sit down so fast. I was going to ask a couple of questions here. You came up and clarified the fact that that was an unusual situation. I think I heard you say for the gentleman on the 1 week wait for the box. But he also had a complaint about the phones. Are we falling back into that mode again where we have some major answering times on the phones?
We had some problems in late December and early January, and in fact, I've communicated with Rich. We've taken a lot of measures to correct the situation, and I think since the last half of January, including during the channel realignment, one day we took 11,000 calls. A normal day is about 4,500 calls. The wait time, with the exception of first thing in the morning, was not unusual at all, and now we're back to normal, under 30 seconds or less.
Okay, so is it fair to say then you say an average of 4,500 calls a day during a normal day, and is that what you're saying is less than 30 seconds or 30 seconds and less?
That's what we're back to, and that's what we've taken measures to keep. And another thing that I was going to point out is that our website is getting much more activity. We had 61,000 hits during the month of January, 23,000 of which occurred during the 2 days of the channel realignment. So we're, alternate methods of communication with us are taking effect, and those will keep phone times down too. And we have people that are standing there just like phone reps who are ready to answer emails to us.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much, Ruth. Now, I think because we run the risk of losing a quorum, that we had better move right to the notice of public hearing.
Yes, we recommend item 3 than item 5, Supervisor Collins,
Yes.
as those
Okay.
require action.
Those are the two action items. I doubt that we'll get to anything else today, and I do not know if the franchisee on Access's request, I don't know that we'll get to that today either. Okay, so the hearing is now open on the cable TV license application by Strategic Holdings Incorporated for the North Natomas area.
Under the licensing ordinance adopted about 10 years ago, after the cable battles and all the litigation for Mr. Shelby and Mr. Kurth, who are somewhat new, you developed a policy, an ordinance common to all your jurisdictions, encouraging and supporting competition in your cable television marketplace, and establishing that the issuance of licenses would be a ministerial function, virtually automatic if certain criteria were met. There's a government code section that's applicable here as well. By the way, we were tested in court on our compliance with this government code section by Scripps Howard when you issued a license, when I recommended and you issued a license to Cable America. Before you today this was in the paper yesterday as well, the Bee ran the story, is a license request from a company called Strategic Technologies. Mr. White is here today to speak to the company to be a competitive cable television provider in the new, what we generally refer to as the North Natomas area. I need to put, or as you read and ask questions and review the recommendation, we will need to briefly go through and at least list one at a time for the record and put the findings recommended by staff into the record. So your public hearing needs to address these 8 findings.
The findings were transmitted to us that,
Yes, yes.
okay.
At least we need a specific record. This, and quickly, the North Natomas area, I'm sure you're aware, will soon be built with many residences, businesses, and other activities. This is a proposal for a cable company to compete in joint trench, that is to put their cable system in at the same time the other primary utilities are in, and be a competitive cable company. This area, in addition to being served, I believe, by Comcast, by Strategic Technologies, is also an excellent an area that is in the excellent footprint of the wireless broadcasting service as well. So this new area will clearly have some opportunities for choice in the cable television marketplace in your community. Mr. White is here. If you'd like to come to the podium, if there's questions from the board. He represents Strategic Technologies Incorporated. If you have questions about him or about me.
Hello there.
Hello, I'm John White with Strategic Technologies Incorporated. I'm the general manager of the California division of our cable operations. We're out of Miami, Florida. That's where our corporate offices are. As our documents, our license documents state, we are a wholly owned subsidiary of Lennar Homes. If you read in your business paper recently, Lennar Homes has made a big commitment to being or becoming the #1 home builder in the state of California. We started out complementing the home builder by providing cable TV services to its master plan communities. Our commitment, in line with Lennar Homes, was to provide a higher quality of life to its home builders and in turn to our subscribers. With that formula, we've been committed to offering more for less. And we've been very successful in competing with incumbent cable TV providers. The cable TV incumbents that we've been competing with to date are Media One, third largest in the nation, on 2 market fronts, in Miami and in LA County. We're also competing with Time Warner in 2 of our operations in Florida. That's in Northern and Mid-Florida, and we've been quite successful. We've also found that incumbent operators, which we're hoping from Comcast, the same type of respect as a competitor, they've been working really well with us. You know, no real conflicts. They're really open to competition, and it's stimulating some interesting activity between the cable operators as it relates to delivery of local municipal services or programming. So we look to see that here in the Sacramento area, cooperation from Comcast, and it sounds that she sounds pretty open to a competition and getting some facts straight. So we look forward to that here. Our formula has worked for us in our communities by us identifying with them in several of our markets. We've actually named our cable operations after those communities. In one development, Stevenson Ranch, which is in our LA market, our cable company is named Stevenson Ranch Cable TV. We work well with our municipalities in getting and soliciting any type of projects or programs and ideas that they have to add to our main objective, which is increasing the quality of life to the communities we serve. We've been able, on our scale, to implement a lot of those things. For example, in our communities in Miami, Florida, we are installing a state-of-the-art hybrid fiber to coax system, which is the current state-of-the-art infrastructure for cable TV operators throughout the nation. With that design, we're able to tailor our programming for specific communities. For example, one community we serve is a golfing community. What we do is we transmit via fiber optics back to our main site to put tee times on their channels. So they can sit at home and see what the tee times, golfing tee times are for playing golf and things of that nature. We have an adult community where we do adult bulletins for the clubhouse activities and for the senior activities that take place in that community. And this is something that we kind of stumbled onto to add value to products we serve by simply coming into a community, providing value to the service, which is more for less, and then soliciting the community for ways of improving that. That's how we were able to enhance our competitiveness and advantages over our incumbents. For example, a community that we serve in Miami has several larger communities we're able to transmit via fiber optics, almost like its own system, to those communities, which you could probably explain from it, are in nodes, not to get too technical. With those nodes, we're able to customize the programming for each community out of the same main site. So you can have actually community-tailored programming in a wider market. And this is something that we encourage the incumbents, our competitors, to try to help, in the overall market to enhance our presence. Because we feel, although it's a competitive nature, to foster these type of products for these communities, we think overall it changes the, sort of the negative image that cable TV on whole is giving out to the markets that we're serving.
Okay.
No one wins when we're getting bashed. So we come in, we provide a decent service, we provide quality programming, but our neighbors right across the street from our incumbents, are offering, let's say, sub-services. We found that when we enter these markets, our competitors actually start rising to the occasion. They actually start pouring in more resources to offset, that little stigma of, that company's better.
Okay. Mr. White, we're going to lose our quorum. So thank you very much.
Mr. White, I have one. Would it be too early for you to comment on how we just were given this cable rate comparison from Sacramento Comcast at $28.98? Would it be too soon, or would this a privacy issue as to how you're going to compare to this rate when you get established in North Natomas?
Every market we've been in, we were able to undercut the incumbents. So I can guarantee.
Okay.
Okay, and we do have a lot of, I assume, Rich, that all the documentation has already been submitted?
Yes.
And you've already had a chance to go through that?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
The corrected documentation is before you, and that's what I want you to act on. 1. 2, in addition to the findings on the record, I'd like to put on the record and to clarify that Harriet, our counsel, is not sitting here. We learned just before finishing the staff report that McDonough, Holland, and Allen, your counsel, also represents the corporate parent of Strategic Technologies. So we want to acknowledge on the record that there is no legal representation on this issue. So we're trying to avoid a conflict issue here. I am comfortable, however, having been through this before on several occasions, that the recommendations and the action I'm recommending before you is legally tight. But I want to note for the record that Harriet's not sitting here because of the potential of cross-representation.
Okay, and we have before us then not only all of the staff report that deals with each and every one of the government code considerations and the rationale for it, but we also have the resolution with all of the correct information in it.
That's correct.
Okay, we just need a motion then on the resolution.
Excuse me, we do have one speaker, Ruth Blank.
Mr. White, we already had
Blank.
Ruth Blank from Comcast.
Oh, she wished to speak on that?
Yeah, she had 3 items.
I'll be very brief.
Okay, yeah, quickly, Ruth.
I truly believe that competition is good for cable. It makes us sharper. It forces us to examine all aspects of our business from the customer's perspective. So we really take no issue with competition. We think everybody does benefit. We welcome strategic holdings, and I'd just like to pose a couple of policy questions. First, in your agenda packet, Rich has addressed most of the considerations of Government Code 53066.3. But I'd like to raise a question about a provision that stipulates, quote, that any franchise to provide cable television service in an area already franchised and served by an existing cable operator shall require the franchisee to wire and serve the same geographical area and shall contain the same public, educational, and governmental access requirements that are set forth in the existing franchise. So my first question is, will Strategic Holdings cable offerings include PEG access channels? Because one of our competitors doesn't currently, and so that was one question. My second question has to do with the relationship between Strategic Holding and the developer of the subdivisions they're proposing to build. So if the parent company of both is Lennar Corporation, will Comcast, A, have equal access to the joint trench, and will Comcast be able to serve all of the homes in the subdivision? Our concern is that a developer who is also building cable plant could have the ability to lock out competition through creating a cable contract with its own homeowners association. So will residents in these new subdivisions truly be able to choose their cable provider, or will the only choice be Strategic Holding Service? Our interest here is simply to be able to compete for the same homes on the merit of our product and service, and we do welcome that competition, but it's a concern. So thank you.
Okay, no, pertinent concerns.
Let me address both of those. First, relative to the community programming channels, your ordinance specifies what the rules are for that, and this proposed applicant has agreed, and by your resolution has agreed to comply with your cable television licensing ordinance. It addresses 7 community programming channels and some other aspects as well. So I believe the answer to that question is yes, pursuant to the ordinance. Relative to the second question about access to joint trench is a dedicated public utility. Maybe not on day 1, but on day 2 it is, as the subdivision comes online. Comcast, by virtue of its franchise and license, has been granted to you access to public utility easements throughout your jurisdiction. So there is not a legal basis upon which, if any public utilities are in the subdivision, Comcast would be able to be excluded from the subdivision. Bottom line, I believe in both cases, the linkage between Strategic Technologies and its parent corporation does not have a legal detriment to Comcast. If Mr. White believes different than what I've just said, then he should state for the record that there is some strategy.
It probably is important to have. Mr. White?
I understand the concerns. It sounds, John White with Strategic Technologies, it sounds like her concern was that the developer may exclude them from any trenching. We find it in some of the communities we serve where we use the same contract labor to install both the utilities, both the cable to utilities with the incumbents in that area. So that's not a concern. That shouldn't be a concern of hers.
Well, actually, it was a concern if I can mention the second part.
No, the second part is access, and I think, and I don't know under California law.
What happens is that the developer will send out timely communications with Comcast's construction department. Where we may have a little edge or slight edge is that we work closer with Lennar engineering departments, but they would still have access to the same communications we get, and all the other public utilities will get the same communications. It's CC to all of us. So if Comcast, if you're not timely in the installation, yes, trenches could be closed, but that should be the same case in any development that you're in.
And I guess there's the second part of that is simply that the home developer can also create a homeowners association and have a bulk contract for cable service that even if we were in the joint trench, Comcast or other competitors could effectively be excluded from the contract. And so it's just a policy issue that I wanted to raise.
That latter one we don't touch. I recommend that you not touch that latter one. That's no different than what Sacramento Cable has done in apartment complexes throughout the community, which is to secure a contract and keep competitors out. That is not an issue related to public utility easements and physical use of streets and easements. So Ruth's last point about a policy or plan new development or something that the developer does after homes are built to have a bulk contract, I don't believe that's an issue that we need to address at this time. And that would be my recommendation.
Well, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
This, we're talking about North Natoma specifically right here now, and this is in the city, and we have the new trench policy that would not forego Comcast getting in the ditch when we build it and on any public streets. I'm not talking about gated communities where they're private streets, but all of them leading in to that area, and I don't think there's going to be that many gated areas out there, that you certainly will have just as much right to be in that trench as long as you get in before we close it up.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have then a motion on the resolutions before us, the resolution?
Second.
I'll move.
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Cox?
Aye.
Fletcher?
Aye.
Yee?
Aye.
Waters?
Aye.
Shelby?
Aye.
Collin?
Yes. Is there anything else we absolutely have to cover? I'm very late.
Unless you'd like to be chair at the next meeting, then the only other item you had.
Anybody?
Mrs. Collins, because she was the vice chair.
Right. Your bylaws require that you elect a chair in the first quarter of every year. My recommendation is that you skip the March meeting. Your next meeting would be in April. I want to talk about calendar real quick. So that's a slight technicality, which I believe we can deal with.
Missing
We don't
one.
have 6. We don't have a quorum now.
We don't have, we're just waiting for him to come back.
He'll be back.
He'll be back just a second.
Who was the vice chair last year?
Me.
Ms. Collins.
Oh, I see. You moved up. You
Yeah.
stepped up. Oh, okay.
So, but we need to, we need to make a determination on electing a chair and a vice chair. And I think Rich provided you with the chart that shows sort of a rotation. We didn't always get it correct. Part of that had to do with people changing on and off, the jurisdiction changing people on and off. But, yeah, you can see it was county in 95, then it went to the Folsom Galt in 96, went to the city in 97, so, and that's probably why at a meeting I wasn't here. I got nominated as the county's rep, so. But we'd have to determine both a chair for this coming year as well as a vice chair.
Can we put it over for a month and have you be chair until?
Sure, I don't mind.
That's acceptable if we put it over, and do we have more input?
I think that's fine.
I'm sorry, I missed the part of the rotation
The
here.
next meeting will be till April, he said.
No, we're
Your
gonna go
your
through.
bylaws provide that you would elect a chair and vice chair in the first quarter of each year. So that's why it's before you today. If it's the consensus of the board that you want to put it over till April, I think that's a technical issue, and so long as you act on it at the beginning of your April meeting, it shouldn't be a problem if that's your desire.
For some thought then, I missed, what's the rotation going to, will it continue as it has been, or, and
Well-
if so, I don't have a problem with that, but if so, then am I reading this right, that the county should be the chair this upcoming year, starting on April 1st?
You've had no
Looks like
policy.
the
I've tried to give you the pattern and leave it to
Saw
you.
it, but now does,
But we don't have a
the
hard.
Citrus Heights wasn't in this cycle before.
That's correct. You,
So what is your recommendation, Reg?
to stay out of it. I mean, for me not to say anything.
No, okay, no, I
Sir,
didn't mean.
excuse me, sir, but yeah, you kind of played tag, you're it at different times in the past, and I think that's a decision for the board.
Yeah,
Well,
and
let's think about it and talk about it then until next
yeah,
month.
I have no
till April.
problem with that because we do have Citrus Heights on here now, and we really need to look at how we're going to work out a city-county rotation of
Okay.
some sort. So I don't have any problem with that if the rest of you don't.
I don't either. I think the next rotation, staff should be able to do that for us without, just include the city of Citrus Heights in that.
Okay, well then you're up, sir. It sounds like Mr. Shelby's volunteering.
Yeah, the real issue is who's going to be the county rep, and the second issue is how the cities
Fit in.
will want to rotate. So.
I would offer that the bigger issue is whose calendar has slots in it to address cable issues with staff. I had recommended that you skip your March meeting. I know you're trying to run, because I thought we'd get through this meeting today. So the staff recommendation was, before today, was that you meet in April. May you have a conflict with cap to cap, and many of you will be gone. June, you have a conflict because election week is that week, and the city has moved its meeting on top of what would be this meeting in June. So first question is, as you're trying to get out of here, do you want to push the balance of today's calendar to March or to April?
If it's first week in March, Supervisor Cox is not here, although you have an alternate, correct?
We do.
Yeah.
So that was please advise staff on what you would like to do. The balance of the information on your agenda is update. There is no action items on your agenda. So meet in March, yes or no. And then we need to, at least by a minute order, agree to the schedule for the balance of the fiscal year before you decide to leave. It sounds like that's your plan.
Well, at least we should decide the next meeting.
Yes.
And I think that might be all we're going to decide until people start looking at their calendars, if we're going to make the changes. And are you willing to stick with the April date?
Why don't we go have March and then clean up all this leftover stuff and,
Okay.
I'm perfectly willing to do March. It's just that we
Yes.
will not have board members here. You'll not have county board
none of
members
the
here.
board?
You'll not have Cox, and Muriel's not on cable, and you won't have Dickinson.
I have an alternate.
You have an alternate, does Dickinson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does he?
That'd be
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Do that in March?
Keep
Meet in March.
Keep
Get a
the
lot done in
regular
March.
meeting in March.
March,
Dickinson does
April.
not have one.
May is cap to
Date?
cap. And then with your permission, we'll begin, we'd like to reschedule and move a week later for June.
Yeah.
June's important, it's budget time. But we can't meet on our normal schedule because of the city rechanging its meeting. So we'll get a memo out to your scheduling support staff and calendar March, April, and June.
So June would be the 11th?
We agreed on, I think that's what we said, the 11th at, the best slot we have now is Thursday, the 11th, probably at 9 a.m.
How about March? What's your date?
Thursday at 9 a.m. won't work?
I thought you're,
Unless those are opposite days, which, that's a second week.
Yes.
Most of us are on joint powers boards that meet on Thursdays. We meet
according
on
to our-
SETA and SACOG and,
With the exception, I had one uncertainty about your calendar. I called on everyone else's, and everyone could do it Thursday morning. There were SDA and SWA in the afternoon, and that's all I had run into. I didn't reach everyone. I reached your office,
Natoli.
I can do it.
yours.
Yeah,
clear.
Natoli and I are on SETA, Steinberg is not on
Yeah.
here, okay.
We'll check.
Those weren't showing up on the calendar when I called, so.
We ran a bunch of options, and the 11th looked the best. We can at least begin to plan that now and confirm it at your March meeting.
Sure. Okay. And with that, our apologies to everyone who came here on other items and we couldn't get to it, but I absolutely have to leave, and at that point, we lose a quorum. So,
I also want.
and we're sorry about the other meeting, running into this meeting. So, yeah, we are adjourned.
Hey, I'm.